Shabbat shalom and good morning. How are you?
Shabbat shalom,
And
everyone.
Lisa, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Rabbi Joel. How are you?
Good. So everyone who's watching, just so you know, we're continuing to experiment with our online platforms and what we're doing. That's why we are trying to both be live today and look at one another and be in conversation at the same time. We are going to be fusing in videos together with this service. So we're trying to make this like a news broadcast. And by the way, behind the scenes, we have Tess Cutler and Jessica Reisenberg who are helping to make this whole thing happen. So thank you in advance to the two of them. And if there are any glitches, you don't blame them. You just blame this new world. So there's not going to be any glitches anyway. But first, Cantor Lisa, how are you this morning?
I am doing pretty good. I'm a little tired, but I'm glad to be starting Shabbat services with you and with the rest of our community.
Yeah, that's how I feel. For me, the birds were up so early outside my window this morning. So I've been up. I've had some coffee, not enough, but it is a beautiful morning and it is great to be here leading services with you. So let's take it away.
We're going to begin our services with a little Hine Matov, how good it is for all of us to be together in this new virtual community. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, 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 shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, Hine Matov, ya la 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 la. Hine Matov, Hine Matov, ya la 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 la. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
I have a question for you because
Yes.
we were talking about this before the service started, but how everyone is probably looking in detail at what you find in people's backgrounds. So I have a question for you. Tell me about one of these pictures that you have behind you. I'd love to know a little bit more.
So this picture, if you can see, this is Patagonia, where Joe and I did our honeymoon. And so this is a picture of us on Perito Moreno, which is a giant glacier.
I don't think we
My
can see that, by the
husband,
way.
can you see that one?
Yeah.
That one.
But you can tell
It,
us. They keep telling us. We're going there in our minds. Oh,
there, I turned. So Perito Moreno, which is a giant glacier. And so that's like our group. And then Joe ran across the glacier to where I almost had multiple heart attacks. And he stood like over a stream of glacier water and he took this incredible picture.
wow.
You can't see the color of the water, but the water is like it's like white. It's so cold and so clear.
Wow. How long were you guys in Patagonia?
We did Argentinian Patagonia and Chilean Patagonia. We were there for 2 weeks. It was
Amazing.
amazing.
Wow.
I've
Thank
never walked so much in my entire life, and I did not train before it,
you.
which was a mistake.
Oh, well, now you know for the next trip with
For
your
the
little
next
baby
trip.
on your back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, speaking of gorgeous settings like that, every morning we're supposed to be grateful. Like you have that hanging on your wall to remind you every single day of that beautiful time in your life. And our tradition says every single morning you are supposed to wake up and remember the blessings in our life. So we're going to transition now to the Nisim B'chol Yom, those daily miracles, the things that we are supposed to be thinking about every single day. And while we do that, we can contemplate what we're grateful for in our own lives this morning.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir shena me'inai, utnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael betifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Insane. It's awesome.
And now that we have done some of these daily miracles, we move to Psalm 151. Now, the wonderful thing about Psalm 150, not 151, there is no Psalm 151. That was just a trivia question for all of you. Yeah. Okay. Psalm 150 is the last of the Psalms. And we are supposed to imagine that when there was a temple in Jerusalem, that it would just be inundated with the sounds of musical instruments to bring that joy, just like the joy that we're supposed to feel every single morning when we wake up. Psalm 150 during the morning service is supposed to just surround us with sounds that can bring us hope and inspiration. So Psalm 150 this morning is a mashup of images both from our rooftop Ruach service last summer, but also images of instruments and joy and dancing, because that's what this prayer is all about. Barchu, our next prayer, is our opportunity to shift our perspective. Berech means to bend in Hebrew. And the whole idea, even though part of Barchu is about bending, but part of it is about standing up and then bending. It's about changing our perspective. It's about physically shifting where you are so you can get in a different mind space. So right now, with Barchu, we transition out of the joy of the morning into a more in-depth approach to our spiritual connection to our tradition. So we continue now with Barchu.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach, hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach, hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
We now come to recite the Shema. The Shema means to listen, and the Shema is the watchword of our people. Right now, in this time of quarantine, I think we're all doing a lot of listening. We're listening to our loved ones. We're listening to the sounds of birds outside. We're listening to the needs of our community, and most importantly, we're listening to the needs of ourselves. So I invite you all to join me in the chanting of the Shema. Let's take a deep breath.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
We join together in the chanting of the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Last weekend, my family, in order for us to just get out of the house, we all got in the car, we rolled down all the windows, and when we do this, we call this the windy party, basically because the windows are down, the music is up loud, we go on the freeway, and obviously the wind, my hair is even getting longer these days, is just blowing our hair all over the place. It's a windy party, and we just took a drive all along PCH up to Camp Hess Kramer and then all the way back, smelling the ocean, laughing, just feeling the breeze. Micha Mocha is all about finding those moments where we can feel free. So even if it just means leaving the house and getting in the car and having a windy party, it doesn't matter. We are given the opportunity every day with Micha Mocha to reignite that sense of freedom within our own lives. So we continue now with Micha Mocha.
I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the, I've been waiting in the
This is our opportunity now just to take 30 seconds of silent reflection. The Amidah, our standing prayer, sometimes it's done out loud and sometimes it's done reflectively and quietly. So we're now just going to take 30 seconds basically for all of us just to center ourselves and find our own space where we can feel like we can spiritually be standing up.
Now that we've had a moment to speak the prayers of our own heart, we always take a moment at the end of our Amidah to offer a prayer for others. We conclude our Amidah with the words of Sim Shalom. We ask God to put peace here on earth. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. We now move into our Torah service, and we're going to be doing things a little bit differently like we've been doing the last couple of Shabbat mornings. We're going to be reading the text of our Torah portion Emor, and then we're going to be having a little bit of a discussion, a little bit of a text study. So our Torah portion, Parashat Emor, we just concluded Achrei Mot Kadoshim last week, where we were told that we all have holiness, that we all have to abide by a certain code so that we distinguish ourselves by our behavior. That's how we become holy in the world. And this week in Parshat Emor, the beginning Torah portion talks about in the beginning that the priests have a certain way that they have to behave, and that's separate from the rest of us. But what we're going to be talking about in our section, in our text study, is the separation and the holiness of time, how it is that we set up our Hebrew calendar, and how that kind of lays out a holy overlook to the rest of our year. So we're going to start with the blessing before the reading of our Torah reading. Feel free to join me at home. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. And we're going to be beginning our Torah reading. This is Leviticus chapter 23, verse 40 through 43, for those of you following along. Ukachtem lachem bayom harishon peri eitz hadat kapot temarim va'anaf eitz avot be'arve nachal usmachtem lifnei Adonai Elohechem shivat yamim v'chagotem oto chag l'Adonai shivat yamim bashana chukat olam ledorotechem
בחודש השביעי תחוגו אותו, בסוכות תשבו 7 ימים. כל האזרח בישראל ישבו בסוכות, למען ידעו דורותיכם כי בסוכות הושבתי את בני ישראל בהוציאי אותם מארץ מצרים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. וידבר משה את מועדי אדוני אל בני Israel.
Thank you for chanting that. I'm just going to read the translation for those of you who weren't able to follow along. So now you can hear, and you got a little hint of which of the festivals that we're talking about in the part that Cantor Lisa just chanted. On the first day you shall take the product of hadar trees, branches of palm trees, boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before your God Adonai 7 days. You shall observe it as a festival of Adonai for 7 days in the year. You shall observe it in the 7th month as a law for all time throughout the ages. You shall live in booths 7 days. All citizens in Israel shall live in booths, in order that future generations may know that I made the Israelite people live in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I, your God, Adonai. So Moses declared to the Israelites the set times of Adonai. Okay. This isn't the only holiday that's highlighted during this parsha. As Cantor Lisa mentioned, we're reminded about Shabbat, Passover, Shavuot. There are many holidays that are covered in this week's Torah portion, but something stands out about Sukkot. And the reason I asked Cantor Lisa to read this passage specifically is there is a key word in there, Zman Simchatenu, Simcha. Sukkot is the only holiday that is called out as a time to rejoice, a time to be joyous, a time and a season of joy. Now, for me, initially, that seems to make no sense because we just had Passover a few weeks ago. How is Passover not a season of joy? Disregarding matzah, right? If you think about the theme of Passover, we were slaves in Egypt for generations, and all of a sudden we are able to be free from that slavery. That's not a time that God is going to say is a time of joy. And then we're about to celebrate Shavuot, where we receive the 10 commandments, where we truly become the Jewish people. We go from just being a tribe that is connected by lineage to a holy people that has a set of laws and regulations to define their value system and how they are going to move through the world. Why, of all of the holidays, is the time that carves out the transition from Passover to Shavuot into the Holy Land? Why is that considered a time of joy? Why is it when we are wandering that's where we find the joy? And for me, that's been standing out a lot given where we are right now in history and what we're dealing with in our own lives. Because in a sense, we're not in temporary dwelling places, right? We are in our homes. During Sukkot in the fall, we go out, we build a sukkah, we spend our time out there. We're supposed to understand the fragility of the world in the sense that while we can be in our home, the other weeks of the year, that's the week where we go out and we recognize how lucky we are to have a home. But for me, recently, I think I've been thinking about fragility in a different sense, because Sukkot also keys in not just on the physicality of fragility. It's not just about being out there in a sukkah, in a shelter that can fall over in a windstorm. Right now, we are in a shelter, but it is temporary. We are not going to be stuck in these homes forever. And as we already know around the country, even here in Los Angeles, things are starting to open up. Right now, the golf courses are open. Now you can go get flowers for Mother's Day. All of these things that are now capable, that we're capable of doing that we weren't even capable of doing a week ago. So why Sukkot as a time of joy? Fragility, the time of uncertainty in our tradition, is where you actually find joy, which seems antithetical to what we would consider to be a place of joy. You usually think of joy as when you feel solid and secure and when you don't have to worry about anything, right? That's when you can just be joyous because you can just sit back. Our tradition is saying, no, Uncertainty, when you can tackle the fact that we live in an uncertain world, when you can recognize that freedom is not when you instantaneously have the opportunity for freedom, it's not also the time where you can stand up on a mountain and get everything you need. It's that journey in between. It's that uncertainty, that fragility of not knowing what's coming next. That's, if you can tackle that, then you can realize what joy really is. Because joy in our tradition is being okay with that uncertainty. Now, another word for uncertainty, I would say in our Jewish theological sense, is faith. If you can be secure with the concept of faith, however you want to define that, there is a joy that comes with that. We shouldn't be putting down faith. Faith is something that can be a stronghold for us right now. Just as we are wandering in a way through this uncertain time, as we start to come out of our Sukkot, our booths, into more of the structure of the world around us, how can we use our faith? How can we use the tools that we have learned from this uncertain time to bring us some joy? I know for me, that car ride that I mentioned when we were going along the coast listening to music, the joy that I had from that experience lasted this whole week. Every preschool class I went into this week, I had a virtual background behind me of the ocean, and I told the story about how my family had a windy party. I got so much joy from that moment in this uncertain time. So I urge you, just like the Israelites wandered through that desert with those flimsy huts, and we're in this stage of uncertainty, if we can find ways of finding the joy, of embracing this uncertainty, we are going to come out of it with tools, with power, with insight that is going to allow us to find more meaning and more joy in our lives moving forward. So that's what I'm taking away from this week's Torah portion, and the concept of Sukkot being a time of joy, Zman Simchatenu. So anything you want to add, Cantor Lisa?
No, amen, yasher koach. That was so beautiful. Okay. So we're going to conclude our Torah study with the concluding blessings. Feel free to join me at home. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So normally at this point in our services, if we were gathered, we would ask around the room for people to share names of their loved ones. Fortunately, through the beauty of technology, we are still able to have people in our community share the name of loved ones who are in need of healing of mind, body, or spirit. And so we offer them a Mishaberach. I invite you at home, if there's someone in your life or if you personally need a moment of healing, to close your eyes and to bring that person's face into your mind's eye and to just offer them this blessing. This blessing is for Dorothy Wachtel, Sue Heichman, Jerry McIntyre, Bert Lane, Bob Gottesman, Janice Blevins, Michael Hebert, Annette Giamo, Rabbi Shechet, and Samuel Touch. We offer them a refuat hanefesh, a refuat haguf, a complete healing of soul and body. We join together in the Mishaberach. Mishaberach avotenu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bisheberach imotenu mekol habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. In a moment, we're going to move into Mourner's Kaddish. And usually when we're gathered together, this is an opportunity for people who are in mourning to stand up. And so we thought, in a virtual world, how do we start to do that? How do we start to honor especially those who have lost someone in the last week or month? And so what you'll see, and what we're going to begin to do, I think, every week, is to highlight those who are in a period of Shiva or Shloshim, those who have lost someone in the last 7 to 30 days, by marking them at the beginning of Mourner's Kaddish with the opportunity, if they wanted to share a picture of their loved one and for those names to be read out loud. And then we will continue by scrolling the names of all the people from our community whom we're thinking of, whose yahrzeit is being commemorated this week, as we join together in Mourner's Kaddish during that time. We begin by remembering those who have passed away during the past month. Les Bateman, Louis Bowman, Nancy Bloch, Sylvia Fox, Lawrence Larry Kartiganer, William Sandy Lockheim, Renee Navon, Bradley Pullman, John Ressler, Diane Ring, Betty Rosenberg, Jeffrey Sanderson, Beth Siegel, James Stern, Ron Ziff. We join together in Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'kadash shemei Rabba, ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chay d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'galau v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam ol me'al maya, Yitbarach v'ishtabach v'itpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'miran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. There's always such a need for peace in this world, and the number of people who have passed away from coronavirus continues to grow. And we know that there is such a need in our own lives and in this world for peace. So let's conclude today with a prayer for peace.
Sounds great. We join together in the words of Oseh Shalom.
Oseh shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. As we all know, tomorrow is a very special day for mothers, and so many of us can't be with our mothers on this day. And so I wanted to share a blessing for mothers in all shapes and form, those who are yearning to become mothers as well. Mishaberach imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Bilcha, Vezilpa. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all the mothers who are with us today. As you cared for and nourished your children, may you too feel nourished by the source of life. May you not be alone in this important work of mothering, but may you always feel connected to networks of support and community. And even amidst the challenges you face, and there are many during this COVID-19 time, may you be pleased with ma'aseh yadechen, the work of your hands and minds, knowing that you are helping and that you help to build a more perfect world through your holy efforts. And let us say, Amen. We conclude our Shabbat service with a little kiddush. If you'd like to join, Rabbi.
Of course.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
L'chaim.
Hi. I have some challah here that Jan Burns, a member of our community, dropped off for my family yesterday. I think I'm going to eat the whole thing myself. But before I do motzi, when we say motzi, we're saying the blessing not just over the bread, we're saying basically a blessing over the entire process of how the bread is made. So I just want to do a shout out to my mother for helping to raise me, to make me who I am today, to my beautiful wife, who I love more than anything and who has been my partner in raising our three girls, of course, and my mother-in-law, Helen, as well, for all that she's done for me. And to all the mothers out there, especially you, Cantor Lisa, this is your first Mother's Day, so Mazal Tov to you. And for all those who have helped to make our lives what they are today. So we'll join together in Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ha-motzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Again, thank you to Tess and Jessica, who are behind the scenes and helped make this whole thing possible. Thank you for tuning in and for joining us this morning. And Cantor Lisa, I love meeting with you, so thank you.
Thanks, Rabbi Joel. Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom, everyone.
Have a great day. Happy Mother's Day.